morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all the listeners out there, and welcome to episode 18 of the Take It With a Grain of Sand podcast. We have three segments for you all today. We have a discussion about Mother's Day. We have an episode of SpongeBob that connects to real life, but not in the way that we usually do it. And we've got Ricky P, of course, talking to us about Sonic.exe. So keep on listening. And to coin Ricky P's phrase, without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, so for this segment, this is based off an IRL argument that Mickey V had. And, well, by the time that this recording goes up, it's actually almost been a week since Mother's Day. And, throughout those 5 days, and even before then, Mickey came up with the conclusion that we were all celebrating Mother's Day wrong.
Yes.
Apparently. So, take it away.
I think that Mother's Day being about celebrating mothers is backwards.
Oh, how backwards?
I think that on Mother's Day, mothers should be celebrating their children.
Okay.
I mean, they wouldn't be mothers if it wasn't for their children.
Yeah, that is true.
So the mothers should be celebrating their children, especially if they've got great kids like our mother has.
Yes, yeah, totally.
She should be appreciating us on Mother's Day. That's what I think about Mother's Day, because, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, because she was asking for like dinner and gifts or whatever, and I was just like, but you've got two great kids. What greater gift is there than motherhood? Especially when your kids turn out good. I can't give a better gift than my existence. Right, Ricky?
Yeah.
I made my mother a mother. And some of this has come from, you listeners may be familiar with what happened to the Chrisleys, the reality show stars. They're currently in prison for tax evasion. They're in a federal penitentiary. However, on one episode of their show, and I'm a big fan, and I was watching their show. One episode, their son Chase was upset with his mother because he's dating a woman that looks just like her. For some reason, he never noticed until his friends started making fun of him. And now he notices that his girlfriend looks like a younger version of his mother. But what's making it even more weird is that his mother is mothering him through his girlfriend. Like the two of them, his girlfriend and their mother Julie, um, went shopping together. And because Julie still, for some reason, does Chase's laundry, he drops it off at their house. She washes it. He comes back and picks it up. She she noticed that he needed new underwear. So while she was out shopping with his girlfriend, she bought him some new underwear and gave them to his girlfriend to give to him. And he thought that that was really weird. Like, it's already weird that they look alike. Now his girlfriend's treating him like she's his mother, and it's all super weird. So Chase goes to Julie to talk to her about it, and then they come to an understanding. And Julie says, Chase, you're my oldest child. You made me a mother, and I'm so grateful to you for that. That was one of the things that she said. I don't, that's not verbatim, but Basically, that's what she said. Like, you made me a mother, and I'm very grateful to you for that, or something like that. And I was like, man, that's the right attitude. I was like, Julie Chrisley got the right attitude. My mother should be grateful to me, her oldest child, for making her a mother. And she should be grateful for being a mother to two adult kids that turned out well. Right,
Yeah.
Ricky? We're two great
Yes.
kids. We don't have a criminal record. We're not on drugs. We're on the right track. We're employed.
Yeah.
We did.
And we have. Oh yeah, and we have a successful podcast.
Yeah, I don't know about that last one.
Kind of.
We do have a podcast. Successful is not the word I'd use. But yeah,
Okay.
we're on a good path and we weren't issues as kids. You know, we got into
No. No.
some little trouble, like normal amounts, but we weren't like behavioral issues at school. We didn't fail school. Like, I think that we were pretty great kids. And our mother should be grateful that she wound up with two great kids. So on Mother's Day, I think next year we should be flipping this around. If you're a great kid out there and you believe that your mother should just be grateful to have you as her child, how about you tell her to get you a gift for Mother's Day? Let's flip this all around. Now, if you're a bad kid, don't. Because
Okay. Yeah. No. No.
that goes against
No.
everything
No.
I'm saying. I'm talking about the good kids out there. No matter how old you are, if you think that you're a good kid, you have not caused your parents very much trouble, like beyond a normal level. You know, you've gotten good grades in school, you weren't a big issue, you don't have a criminal record. How about you ask your mother for some gifts? And maybe she'll take you to dinner. Like, let's just flip this all around. Flip the whole thing on its head.
Okay.
We should be getting gifts. And this Mother's Day has just completely changed my perspective on the whole thing. Because, first of all, my problem with these holidays, these federal holidays, is that they're completely made up. They don't celebrate any, like, I have a problem with the holidays that don't celebrate a specific event, you
Yeah.
know, like Thanksgiving, like Independence Day. Like, those are specific events in history that we celebrate. That makes sense to me. But these other holidays just don't. They just feel like capitalism to me. Because, like, on Mother's Day, what are you expected to do? You're expected to go out and spend money, right? You're supposed to get,
Yes.
like, flowers, candy, jewelry, dinner. It's like just this motivator and for to go out and spend money. And so it's just capitalism for no real purpose. They make you feel like you have to do these things, right? It's
Yeah.
this pressure that you have to go out and spend your money on these things just because it says so on the calendar. And why is that? Why can't we as families, individual families, decide what day is special, right? Like we could, each
Right.
family, how about a new tradition? Each family have their own day a year where you celebrate one another because you should all be grateful for one another. So you could have your own day, and that's way more special to me than Mother's Day and Father's Day.
No, that just kind of sounds like a birthday.
No, no, no. This is outside of a birthday.
Okay, so outside.
Outside of the
All
birthday,
right.
a family day that you choose as a family to celebrate one another.
Oh, all right.
And then that's when you get gifts. Like, why does it have to be on a day that someone else chooses? What if Sunday's not a good day for me? Why do they have to be on Sunday? Like, who decides?
Yeah,
I said we make up our own day, and it's on our own time, and we can all get gifts for one another. It'll basically be like Christmas.
but just
We can just exchange all gifts as a family on a day of our choosing.
yeah. But it makes more sense for that to be like in June.
Why?
Well, because that's like the half year mark.
I think you can pick whenever you want it to be. Like, if your family likes winter, you could do it in winter.
Okay.
Some people like the cold, Ricky.
Well, I'm not really downing anyone.
Some people want to, like, maybe they want to go to a snow resort.
Mm,
Some people like that kind of stuff. Not me, but some people
mm,
do.
yeah.
Bougie
Yeah.
people. Let me tell you something. This is just a side comment that made me think of how, like, bougie winter sports are. You ever think about that, Ricky? Like
Yes.
winter sports versus summer sports. Winter sports are really bougie because it's like so expensive to like go, like, not only go to one of those places, but like buying all the gear, like skis, the big coats and pants and snowboard, like all that stuff is so expensive versus summer sports like swimming. All you need is your body. Or like
Yeah,
volleyball, all you need is a ball. Like, it's not expensive. So I just feel like winter sports are really bougie because they're so expensive.
but that could be a topic for another time.
Hey, this is our podcast. We can talk about whatever.
Eh,
Winter sports are bougie, but
mm,
hey, if you're one of those rich families that wants to do that, then how about you set your family day in a cold month of January, December, and then you can go do your expensive activities as a family. See, it all ties back together, Ricky.
okay.
And yeah, I think that you all get gifts, and maybe you go out to dinner together and you all chip in. And then it's just like a fun time as a family. I think that makes more sense than Mother's Day and Father's Day. So, we got to figure out when our family day is going to be. And we're just going to put a cancel on Mother's Day and Father's Day. I'm going to ignore it.
Yep.
I'm not even
All
gonna
right.
acknowledge it on the calendar. I'm going to ignore it. All right.
All right. Great. Great.
Any final thoughts, Ricky?
Nope, I don't really have anything.
All right. So for this segment, we got like a different type of connecting SpongeBob to real life. Then
What is it about?
so recently there's a scene from SpongeBob that blew up on Twitter. Not that recently. We're really old. We're late to this. All right, Ricky. This was like a month ago that this blew up.
Okay.
But there's this whole Twitter thread about this specific scene from SpongeBob. So this already connects to real life because people in real life are talking about this. And I'm just going to go ahead and play it and let's see what you guys think.
The slumber party? Do I know you? My name is Girly Teen Girl. I just moved here from far away, Belle. You SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know what you're talking about. You were sent to spy on me by my dad. Away, Belle. Is that? But she is. Told you that.
So that's the clip. So what's happening right now is
Hmm.
that Pearl is throwing a party, a little slumber party with her friends, and Mr. Krabs wants to spy on the girls. He wants to know what they're doing for some reason. And he's enlisted the help of SpongeBob to figure that out. And then Pearl knows that her dad is trying to spy on her, and so she's already suspicious. And then this girl shows up. The girl looks exactly like SpongeBob, like if SpongeBob was wearing a wig and a dress, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
it looks like exactly like SpongeBob, and she's like, it's SpongeBob. And so people are upset about this scene for a number of reasons. And looking at the Twitter thread, so here's what the person said. The fact that girly teen girl forgot her own, like, people are on both sides of this. People are on girly teen girl side, people are on Pearl's side. This person's on Pearl's side. Um the fact that girly teen girl forgot her own name for a second when she was asked what it was. Yeah. It's like it's
What?
all very suspicious, and then people are on both sides of it. Like, they're like misgendered her. They're saying that Pearl misgendered this girl. They're saying that the girl was socially anxious. They're on the girl's side. They're saying that Pearl assaulted her. This is the worst day of girly teen girl's life. They're saying Pearl's a whale.
What?
They're saying, oh my god, this is so funny. They're saying, like, let's see, why is SpongeBob talking about her twin like that? Yeah, so there's a lot of angles to this. So on one hand, girly teen girl is new in town, right? She's just looking for some friends. She shows up to this house and she wants to be their friends. But on Pearl's side, like, this random girl she doesn't even know shows up. She looks exactly like SpongeBob. She's suspicious that SpongeBob is going to show up. And how about this? How did girly teen girl know that there was a slumber party here if she doesn't know anybody?
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty suspicious.
Yeah, what was she watching them? And then, of course, at the end, SpongeBob calls her ugly. So it's like, it's a really rough time for girly teen girl. What do you think about this, Ricky? Did you hear about this controversy?
I haven't really heard about it. What's? I mean, nothing in like not really small as in like it was very unknown, but I don't think it really blew up like that mainstream that everybody was really talking about it.
I saw a YouTube video about it. One of the YouTubers I watch made a video about it. I guess I could cite my source. You know, Nick is not green. Or you might have did it on his second channel, Green is not Nick. But either way, that's how I heard about it, because he talked about it on his YouTube channel. And then I looked it up and I found the Twitter threads, multiple threads. There were lots of threads. But yeah, that's how I heard about it. And yeah, there's a controversy. I don't know whose side I'm on. Both sides have merit. Both sides have faults, because Pearl was wrong, but people are saying that Pearl misgendered Girly. But I don't think so. Like, Pearl didn't say any pronouns. Pearl literally just thought that it was SpongeBob. Is that misgendering if you just think it's a completely different person?
No,
I don't
I
know.
don't think
I
so.
really don't know what the rules are with that, but I don't know if I would call that misgendering. And how did Girly know? Like, what, you're supposed to just let a random person in your house just because they're a teen girl? If you don't even know them, like, what's the social rules here? Like, you don't just show up at somebody's house. That's rude.
Yeah,
Especially at this day and age. You just pop up on me when we've got technology. Like, no. No, 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 no. That's rude. But then there's also an argument that maybe in far awayville, where Girly is from, maybe that's socially acceptable to just pop up on people. Like the social customs are just so different. That's one of the arguments. Like the social customs and expectations in far awayville are just so different from what they are in Bikini Bottom, that maybe there it's socially acceptable to just pop up on someone at their house. What do you think, Ricky? Whose side are you on?
well, to be honest, I'm not really on neither side. Pretty neutral. And the sole reason why is the fact that this is all just ridiculous. Like, really? We're really making a big of a deal over a snowdrop scene? Again? We already went through with this. It's just a scene from like a cartoon with a talking sponge.
From like
And then
20 years ago.
yeah, and then like people are turning it into a political debate over misgendering. Like what?
And well, Ricky, I think that's because, there's a lot of examples of that, like the smallest things becoming a huge controversy. And I think a lot of it's because there's not a lot of problems that we face today in America, like on a individual level. Of course, there's the huge political things, but I'm talking about like day to day in your life. You don't face as many problems as people used to. And so I think a lot of times people just invent problems. They want problems. They crave problems, but life is so easy compared to, say, even just 50 years ago. It's things are so much easier now that people have to create problems because they don't have any. So
Yeah.
that's when they get upset about a 20-year-old cartoon. So that's why we're here. We don't have enough problems. But yeah, I don't know, man. But if we're actually gonna analyze it, I don't really know whose side I'm on, because I'm kind of leaning towards Pearl. Like, this girl just showed up. It's kind of Mr. Krabs' fault though. 'Cause like Pearl wouldn't have been so mean to Girly Teen Girl if she didn't have a reason to be suspicious that SpongeBob was gonna show up, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of Mr. Krabs' fault. I mean, what were they even gonna do? It's a slumber party. It's just a bunch of teenage girls hanging out. Like, I don't know what kind of trouble he thought that they were gonna get into, that they needed to be under surveillance. But yeah, I'm kind of blaming Mr. Krabs for Girly Teen Girl getting bullied. If we're really gonna talk about it from that perspective. And people have already connected this to real life from the angle of gender and misgendering, which is very prevalent in our society today. Um, and we were just talking about this on Mother's Day. Hey, this connects to our last segment. Okay,
Oh
so
wow.
we were talking about gender, and we were talking. I don't know you weren't really all that involved in the conversation, were you, Ricky? You were there
Um,
when
yeah.
I was talking to our mother about, well, our mother was talking to me about this woman that she works with, and she didn't know what her gender was until she said what her name was. Um, because she was dressed androgynous and had a voice that could go either way, like kind of low to be a woman, kind of high to be a man, like kind of in between, couldn't really tell. And you know what I forgot to mention to her, maybe hopefully she'll listen to the podcast and get some advice these days, because she didn't want to assume. Our mother did not want to assume someone's gender because that's very offensive if you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
But something that is socially acceptable is to ask someone what their pronouns are, right? Like you can just ask them now. Like you don't ask them like what gender they align with, but you can ask them what their pronouns are, and that's socially acceptable. I think
Alright.
that's what you're supposed to do when you meet someone. You're supposed to be like, okay, what pronouns do you use? What pronouns make you feel most comfortable? I don't know how you phrase it, but you can ask them what the pronouns are, and then they tell you, and then you're cool.
Alright.
So our mother could have just asked that woman what her pronouns were, and then she would have said she, her, and then it would have been all sorted out.
Yes.
So Pearl should have asked Girly Teen Girl for her pronouns.
Nah. Because back then pronouns weren't really associated with gender.
Yeah, that's true, and that wasn't prevalent. Everyone just assumed everyone's pronouns back in the
Yes.
day. But if Pearl had asked Girly Teen Girl what her pronouns were, Girly Teen Girl would have said she, her. Although I guess that wouldn't help because if it was SpongeBob in a disguise, SpongeBob would say she, her. That wouldn't have even helped.
No.
But they're saying that Pearl misgendered this teenage girl and she's very, now she made her sad because she got yelled at. She doesn't even know what she did wrong. But I don't know, man. You're not just gonna pop up at my house and expect a warm welcome. Tell you that much. Pop up at my door. I'm not. I probably first of all, I probably won't open it. But if I do, you're not coming inside. Like, ain't nobody just gonna pop up on me like that and expect to just be welcomed in and what? I'm gonna offer you a drink or something? I gotta give you a water after you done just popped up at my house? Get out of here. Well, I gotta give you some of my dinner after you just popped up on my house. I had to be hospitable. Now all of a sudden I have to suddenly be a hostess? Man, get out of here. Girly Teen Girl can go. Creep me out. Just showed up. But yeah, I think that concludes our discussion on Girly Teen Girl.
Yeah. Alright.
So Ricky, you say you wanna have a discussion about Sonic.exe? You have a
Oh yes I do.
story to share with the audience?
Yes, I do. Now this story, which those of you who haven't really seen the Halloween special, I read a creepypasta that was inspired by this one. And Sonic.exe, if you were around during the early 2010s, was popular. This is one of the most popular creepypastas of Sonic that ever existed. And I have to say, like back then, I will admit, I was terrified when I actually first heard it. But I was like around 11, and I assumed, like, since it was like a video story, it was real. But looking back at it, and then looking what the story, uh, like as a whole, I don't really get how or why it was that popular. Because spoiler alert, this story is not scary, nor is it good.
So why are we talking about it?
Because I want to actually read it word for word with some interjections in between to show you how bad this story is.
All right.
And, Mickey, if you want to, you can interject and give your feelings or facts
I don't
or
need your
something.
permission to talk, Ricky. I'll talk when I want to.
Okay then. So let's just get started. This is Sonic.exe. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or haptic games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed until I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the mailman has arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and
Yeah, that's
left.
what mailmen do. And they're not mailmen anymore. They're called mail carriers. It's more inclusive. Okay, continue.
Okay. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, whom I won't whom I haven't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting. Though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written, scratchy, and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down, and it did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote: Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you to do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He too is faster than me. Please, Tom, destroy this god-forsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. That's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please! Kyle.
Why didn't Kyle destroy it?
Hmm?
He mailed it. He put postage on it.
Yes. But
Okay.
but but you know what? That is not the absurd part of it. Let's continue. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. See? I didn't
What?
think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. So taking a break from the story a little bit, as you can see, he didn't do what the letter said,
Mm-hmm.
and he played the game.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why are you saying he? Did the person say what their pronouns were?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, actually, this guy who Apparently, the main protagonist, his name is Tom,
Tom.
and it's definitely a he.
Okay.
We're not even into the game yet, and we can already tell what type of character Tom is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He's the type that doesn't listen.
yes, yeah. So, let's just continue. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looks like any ordinary CD R case, except it had a black mark on it written Sonic.exe, and it was much unlike Tom's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of on the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it since I'm a big Sonic fan. And actually, by the way, there's two A's before big Sonic fan.
A big Sonic fan.
Yes.
Okay.
I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because, like I said earlier, I liked the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place. Well, noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start, there was a split second when I saw the title image turn into something much difficult. Something that I now consider horrifying. Before I cut to black, I remembered the I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky was darkened. The title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was instead Sega 666. And the water had turned red, like blood,
Blood.
except it looked hyper realistic. Yeah, we're definitely going to be going there. Alright. But the freakiest thing that was in that split second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with two girly red dots staring right at me. And his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a glitch and forgot about it.
Of
After
course.
after it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or less. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up. And I was like, WTF? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. Something off. The background was the dark, cloudy sky from the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD. And there were only 3 save files. The music was a creepy caverns of winter music from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. In the image, it's for the save file where you see the preview of the level you're on. It's just red static for all 3 save files. What freaked me out more was the character select. it showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now,
Dr.
sure.
Robotnik
Yep.
as one of the options as a character to play?
No. No. He isn't. Now, I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in the classic Sonic games for crying out loud? That's where I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. And it took him that long to realize it.
Yeah, this has all been wrong. Obviously, this isn't an official release from Sega.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. And it was creepy. But as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong about that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Tails. And when I selected it got started, period, the game froze for about 5 seconds. And I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like Kafka, like that Kafka guy from Final Fantasy, before cutting to black. The
Man, there's a
screen.
lot of video game references in here.
Yes,
I
there
don't
is.
even, I'm kind of a gamer. I'm not understanding a lot of. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. That it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shape. The simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text showed only Hail Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone of Sonic 1. The music was different though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that as Tails was running, along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and only a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the piece of music started getting lower down into slow, deep tones, very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something, and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails was shocked and saddened. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before. So I had to move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like someone killed them in a rather gruesome ways.
I mean, obviously someone killed them. You don't just see a bunch of dead animals.
The squirrel was hanging on the tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all four of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. That sentence doesn't sound right, but uh, anyways. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, Tails was running up the hill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen, with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails was happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered. Sorry about that. Obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, as if acting as well, if not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move. So this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feeling of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard a faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to go away, to get away from Sonic, as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black, with those red glowing dots, just like the title screen, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned to black, and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 10 seconds, and then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to
At this
continue the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level, with the level title now saying "Hide and Seek." Uh, this time, I was in the age and island level for Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made a frantic gesture to me, as if he wanted to get out of this area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So, I pressed down on the arrow keys as hard as I could to make him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version, a pixelated version of the creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark of Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the dissolute forest, trying to help him escape from wherever he was trying to run from. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again. That awful Kafka laugh. Right after their 10 seconds have passed as I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic probably everywhere on the screen. Again, with those black and red eyes. The music changed to the suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him. Flying! Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose, the flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose from Sonic's CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had the black and red eyes again. Only this time, he had the most dastardly look and grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving to the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails lay there and started crying for 15 seconds. This scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked horrified. Blood started coming down those blackened eyes as the eyes of Sonic as a grin slowly grew from his face as he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. After a split second, look at Sonic lunged at Tails right before the street with the black. There was a loud screaming noise that only lasted 15 seconds. The text, only this time it said, "You're too slow, wanna try again?" And then that god awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have.
Did Sonic murder Tails?
I mean, he and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TD screen itself, which was flickering with the red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and his expression was anguish on his face. And he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run!" I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It was the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had a dark reddish cloud sky. Well, it had the dark reddish cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gygas's theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall, just like Tails. It looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made a move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in the dark level, and as he did, the screen started flickering red static a couple times, and then the maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated walking down the bloodstained road, but I still kept it going. Suddenly, Knuckles was running. Sonic was right. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, when the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with the text, "Found you!" I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, as red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was found. Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't. Honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. It made Knuckles turn to try to punch Sonic. But Sonic vanished in black pixel smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again, and I made a punch again. And Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees, clutching his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then, in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted screaming noise that lasted at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree? What the heck? Huh? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic is finally trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think it. I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles on the TV. His red fur had darkened into a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those CD screens on the save files. But I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. I took a nap. Wish I had it, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in a pitch black darkness, though I was under a light given off by a lamp that was hanging high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us!" and Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too!" Their cries died out as I heard Sonic laugh. His laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. You're a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle. Though he didn't last long. I was scared and looked around for the source of the voice. Wouldn't be long until you join in. And all my friends. I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others. When he grabbed me, I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed, grinning face. I woke up with a fright. After a couple hours, I decided to continue the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So, I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought this was. I still thought that it was wacky playing as Robotnik, but anyway, the level title appeared again. And this time, it said ellipsis, which I found really freaky. This time, I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though. Though it was a pixelated, it was the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The uh walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candlelights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, the red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're whenever you're playing the game, you could barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant. A piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song. But I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't reversed. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turned his head to the left and then to the right, at least twice, before, or, once or twice, and then shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on, even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen. Robotnik continued onward. He did his usual running animation. You know, when you beat him at the end of the classic Sonic games and you chase him. As we continued through the hallway. Then I stopped at the up a long flight of stairs leading downwards. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself. Though I pressed onwards. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed the walls were getting darker and more reddish. The red torches are now in eerie blue. Then we landed into another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs down. I don't know why down is put twice. Anyways, this one was much longer. It took at least one full minute. And then I heard that horrid cafe laugh again. And then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red, and the torches were a black flame now. When, when Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic Sonic standing in the darkness where you could only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur as you touch the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and black, and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper realistic. And there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a British cat, or whatever type of cat that is. Except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs. Much like the werewolf's teeth, except more vicious looking. Somewhat yellowish. And from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at the gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face. It just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with the red static again, 3 times. And on the third time, I heard the Kefka laugh. Except this time, it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went to back to the image again. It went back to the image again. Except this time, there was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much what it. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked since I had this game. I am God! It was when I read the message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right then and there, this Sonic was a monster. A pure, evil, sadistic, all powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotic, and possibly Kyle, were his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world. And the very hell his victims were trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screaming loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literal spiral abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again. This time, much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screamed for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but a black screen. As I sat there staring at the black screen, the last text came up. Ready for round two, Tom? Yakeka laughed. Now sounded more clear, as if Sonic was right behind me. Played again 3 times as I looked at the text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the third save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned dull gray, his mustache dropped and had blackened. His glasses broke, and blood is coming from them. And he had a more dead-like expression on his face. Like that's ever possible. How is that even possible to have an even more dead-like expression? I just don't really get that. I don't really get
I
it.
don't I don't know, Ricky. This is not very well
I looked
written.
at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitched them for. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They are forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by the horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then, the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on, no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people to play his game in more ways than one. And then, when he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you, always, as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck there. But at least I managed to turn it back on again. No, turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice was coming from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, but a Sonic plushie, smiling with bloodstains under its eyes. And that's it. That's the story.
Great. I think I've had enough Sonic talk for one day. We're We've been recording this segment for quite a while.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
did not realize that the story was going to be so long. If you made it through all of that, listener, how about you leave a comment that says, "The duck
uh,
quacks at midnight." Go in the comments and write, "The duck quacks at midnight." And that's how we'll know
uh,
you made it through this entire podcast. And you listened to Ricky
uh,
read us Sonic.exe.
yeah.
Episode
Yeah,
21. Okay.
I don't know.
I think that's
I
enough.
felt my brain cells slowly dying as I kept reading. Yeah,
I
and that
definitely need
goes
to
to
listen
show
to
you
all of
that this
it.
is not a
I'm
very
kind
good
of spacing
story
out.
at all. And one last thing before we end it
Yeah,
off.
it's not.
It's this story's creation that spawned a whole plethora of copycats. And even a sequel. A sequel that I know we are not going to read because it's even longer than this. So, we're just gonna leave it off that. No more Sonic, no more creepypastas. We are done. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Take It With Your Aunt Sam. Hope to see you again soon. And always remember to take it
with a grain of sand!
Yeah, what she said.